We're just about ready to start. What the fuck are you doing? You trying to look at my cock? Last of the Grads was an independently funded movie that was released on May 14th, 2021. The film was written, directed and produced by Jay Jenkins and Colin Cluey, who are two friends from high school. They shot the film in their hometown and actually used the real-life high school that they went to as kids as the fake high school that most of the story takes place in. The only reason I know about this film is because of Charlie White's involvement. Charlie White is the owner of the YouTube channel Penguin Zero, or as some people like to say, Penguinzo.
Penguinzo.
He's been making videos for over a decade now, but has only just recently risen to gargantuan popularity, and he's probably one of the most consistent channels on the entire site. Neither his personality or content style has drastically changed throughout his rise to fame, and I mean that in the best way possible. Fame often shatters the integrity of many a once great YouTuber. Charlie literally only does things that he genuinely enjoys doing. Random tier lists that are strangely fascinating, commentary on competitive slapping tournaments, film reviews, game reviews, weird experiments often involving sex toys, you name it. I don't watch his stuff religiously, but it makes me happy every time I see him upload a video about him fixing a toilet for 40 minutes and it get like hundreds of thousands of views. It's just a nice big fuck you to the generic YouTube algorithm. So a couple of months back, Charlie announced that he was in a new movie called Last of the Grads, playing the character Officer Greg. Also starring was Andrew Wagenheim, a friend and fellow YouTuber of Charles's, which he co-hosts the official podcast with, a podcast that I've been listening to for years. As the film's release date was drawing nearer, I decided I'd make a film review about it because this is a project that's coming from a place of individuality and heart. There aren't any interesting new releases to cover at the moment. I haven't watched Falcon and the Winter's Tale. I've given Marvel enough coverage for now. I want to cover the little guys, the little guys who I only heard about through an 8 million subscriber YouTube channel. I'm not exactly the connoisseur of upcoming indie movies. I'm pretty lousy at keeping up with the latest Hollywood movies as it is. I'm just happy to be covering something that's made with a bit more love than most of the other shit I've been talking about recently. Now obviously this film is working with a much smaller budget than the films I usually cover. I'm going to be a bit more sympathetic in my review, but at the same time I'm not going to be sucking anyone's dick or anything. I'm just not going to be like, oh wow, that looks fake. Oh, have you seen this movie from 1982, The Thing? That had flawless practical effects and that was over 30 years ago and you can't do better in 2020? That's pathetic. However, having said that, I am overall unsure on what criteria I should be judging this film by, but I'll just say for anyone who's interested in watching this movie to have reasonable expectations. Obviously, the performances aren't going to be quite up to snuff with the media you're used to watching. To get around this and not feel too harsh, I'm just going to compare each performance to other performances throughout the film, as there definitely is a range in quality and believability throughout each actor/actress. Anyway, enough of this, let's just get started. Let's just get on with the review. The film opens itself up with a sequence that gives us the backstories of two young men, Henry and Mutt, who become friends after bonding over their mutual experiences of abuse in life.
The rage that swelled inside overcame him like a demon.
The prologue is accompanied with this campy, classic horror narration.
They've said the age of legends had ended. I've proven them wrong. There was a boy. He showed Henry the scars on his palm.
Colin Cluey has been a big fan of The Twilight Zone since he was a kid. I haven't watched a single full episode of the show myself, but from all the various clips I've seen from the show, including how its famous narrator sounds, I'd say it's safe to assume that Colin has incorporated that style of campy, Tales of the Crypt-esque horror media, which The Twilight Zone falls under, into this film. It's also very reminiscent of Halloween. The music from Grads is definitely taking direct inspiration from the original 1978 score. This film is pretty much built on Halloween to an almost unapologetic degree. There's no mistaking the director's influences, and I am quite certain that they're aware of this.
The rage that swelled inside overcame him like a demon.
With the narration though, I appreciate the stylistic significance, but on a tonal level it's inconsistent with the rest of the film. And once the intro is over, it doesn't reprise itself until the very end of the film. It's always nice when narration is used consistently when introduced in a movie, but then again its emergence in the opening sequence is done to accentuate that episodic feel, like you're watching a weekly showing of an old horror TV series.
Henry lived alone with his mother, a woman with a heart of ice.
Prominent character Henry suffers severe verbal and sometimes physical abuse at the hands of his single mother. He later comes into contact with Mutt, who suffers in similar ways. Mutt just gets donked by his nasty father. The father would always say, "I got the burning in me," as he'd whip little old Mutt.
I got the burning in me, Marty!
This becomes a semi-prominent phrase / motif throughout the film. It's quite self-explanatory. I've got the burning in me, the burning rage, the demon that can awaken inside all of us, or perhaps even the burning love inside all of us. In a lot of ways, it's very reminiscent of the Twin Peaks phrase, "Fire walk with me," but just a bit more cringy.
I've got the burning!
Like a Redditor's rendition, as Penguinzo might say.
What's up, guys? I saw a smelly Redditor on Reddit today. Anyway, that's it. See ya.
Unlike pathetic little Henry, Mutt actually stands up for himself and fights back. Mutt's obviously been driven mad by his mad bastard father, and now the burning is in him. Mutt has this symbol carved into his palm that represents this burning.
A symbol from a nightmare. This is the burning, Mutt said.
He later carves the same symbol into Henry's palm, in turn passing on this burning rage to Henry. The effects work done to simulate the carving is actually pretty good. I know it's not real, but it did supply me with the squeamish effect that was intended. The two eventually agree to kill their parents, and this would be a great moment for a fucking arsehole to say, standard, as you do. Henry and Mutt decree that it'll be a death by burning execution. This execution scene is actually the first scene of the movie, then we cut back to get Henry and Mutt's backstories. So the first character we see is actually Henry's mother, who's probably the weakest actor / actress in this scene.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Again, I don't want to be harsh, I've no knowledge of acting or the casting process, but it is a worrying first impression as you're instantly wondering if all the acting is going to be on this same level. Fortunately, there is a range in quality and the performances get better as the film goes on. The actor for Mutt is also quite bad.
Morning.
And on first viewing, again, I was growing more concerned for the quality of acting I should be expecting.
Don't you see me, Pa? I've got the burning!
He's really excited about the burning inside him, but it's way too much. It does unfortunately come across like a 13-year-old trying to be edgy once he first finds out about atheism.
I'm gonna die a legend!
Mutt's dad is probably giving the best performance out of the four.
You're dead, boy!
He's completely hamming it up, but there's more conviction in his deliveries, more certainty in the character. The burning commences, and the two nasty parents get crisped. It's a nicely shot scene. I'm not sure when this was filmed in relation to Midsummer's release, but that was the first thing it reminded me of. That and Funny Games with this shot. The sound editing, mixing design, whichever one it is, the background noises used to make the location feel more natural are subtly implemented. Again, what the fuck do I know? This is just a very painstaking part of movie production that, if not done well, can cause crucial damage to the way people view the film. Poorly edited in sound design is instantly noticeable to anyone watching and can instantly take you out of the experience. You're not supposed to notice background noise, it's just supposed to have the same effect of normal everyday noise. The background sound design, editing, whatever the term is, isn't distracting in this film. What I'm trying to say say is, well done guys, good job. I know fuck all about filmmaking, my opinion means nothing. The way they show the parents being burned is cleverly economic. They've put some charred skin makeup on the actors' faces, and from what it seems have placed them behind a real fire, the smoke from which blurs our vision of the makeup, perhaps masking what would have been very simplistic cosmetic work. It might not be 100% convincing, but it's more artistic than shitty CGI flames. Throughout the introduction sequence, we're also told about Henry's long-lost father, and because this video isn't Last of the Grads explained, I'm only going to paraphrase. So his dad left when he was young, he's somewhere in Florida. Henry knows this because of this postcard his father sent him. Henry plans to one day go looking for his daddy.
What is your dream?
I'm gonna go down to the Keys and track down my pa. I'm gonna find that bastard or die trying.
He's also very passionate about the topic, as shown in this scene.
My father's still out there, and if you say any different, I'll bash your fucking
At the
head in.
mention of his father,
Maybe Henry had burned inside him to begin with all along. And all of this took place in Washington State 25 years ago, by the way. Compared to the rest of the film, this segment is easily the weakest section of the movie. The acting is definitely at its least convincing here, and the narration can throw you off. But as I said, there is a range, and in my opinion, the performances only improve from this point onward. After they've fried their parents, they then decide to hit the road. We get a montage of news reports following a string of murders across different states, as the pair build a Zodiac-like reputation for themselves.
Containing a series of anonymous letters written in blood.
The coast-to-coast killer is almost certainly a hoax, but the question remains, who would pull a stunt like this?
These series of kills are illustrated for us with this map visual with its nasty trail of blood. Right, this film's fucked, I'm turning it off.
Along with other nudity.
This map motif is of course a visual nod to the Indiana Jones films. I'm already sick of talking about nods and homages to other films. Go and watch Mr. Sunday Movie's Last of the Grads breakdown for that. Also accompanying this map visual is this very nice use of the Adobe Premiere Gaussian blur. Genuinely though, there is some really cool still shots showing the aftermath of each murder, an interesting and effective visual way of conveying information. Some shots in particular are really cool with some nice uses of small lighting and practical effects, very aesthetically pleasing, apart from this one. This one looks kind of fucking stupid. They even kill a little kid, the fucking twats.
Our prayers go out to the family, and we keep them in our thoughts.
And of course, this string of kills lines up to resemble the burning symbol. Cut to modern day, Shelby, Florida, Sheriff Station. The rookie cop has cracked down on a theory regarding this series of murders, and the other cops don't believe him.
We get a straight line that leads us right here.
Sounds like a bunch of bullshit if you ask me.
It's all of the slasher movie cliches, but Jay and Colin are at least embracing it, so it doesn't really matter that much. We get 3 new characters, the rookie, the sheriff, and Officer Penguinzo.
With all due respect, Sheriff, I really don't think those kids should be alone in that high school.
This fucking guy.
Already, the acting has improved significantly, and it no longer feels like an edgy student film.
I've got the burning!
The rookie actor is selling all his lines as he explains his theory on where the next attack will be, and this helps you get invested as it foreshadows the coming carnage.
I really don't think those kids should be alone in that high school.
That'd make this son of a bitch the greatest serial killer the world's ever seen, right? Make the Zodiac look like a joke.
This scene helped me regain my confidence for how the rest of the movie would shape out. Charlie gets his first line.
You don't actually believe this delusional tinfoil condom conspiracy shit, do you, Sheriff?
For fans of his YouTube channel, this delivery will sound a little too familiar. He even uses the same vein of vocabulary that he uses in his videos.
I wasn't always this sex god you see before you. The apex of raw sexual energy. Every few years, some limp dick turbo virgin loser watches one episode of Unsolved Mysteries and tries to take credit.
Officer Greg is essentially Charlie if he was a cop. You know, he's playing himself.
God, I hope you're not showing that to any women.
For people who don't have any major acting experience, playing an exaggerated version of yourself isn't the worst way to go. It works for this role. He's the sarcastic police officer who dismisses everyone else's cautionary advice. Charlie is a naturally dry person. He always has been. It's one of his strongest attributes as an entertainer, so just by being himself, you avoid having a forced and unnatural performance. As for his acting itself, well, using the same logic as before, it's more convincing than all of the performances from the prologue.
Morning.
I enjoyed watching him on screen. Of course there's some bias in that enjoyment as I'm a big fan of his channel, but in my opinion he brought his own flair to the movie and didn't take away from it in any way.
They got you on this, huh?
Yeah, man. I was investigating Sasquatch sightings per usual, and they pulled me off. Do a little chaperoning at the school function.
Some deliveries were better than others,
This fucking guy.
but all the same, he didn't let the side down in relation to the actors he shared his scenes with. He was just about competent.
What do you want to do? Shut it down?
You know, I might end up doing like a ranking of all the performances in the movie from worst to best. Again, with the whole playing into the cliches, we have the sheriff. The sheriff might be the best actor in the movie, at least in this scene.
That'd make this son of a bitch the greatest serial killer the world's ever seen, right? Make the Zodiac look like a joke.
He kills the hammy, seasoned sheriff, "I've seen some shit in my time" dialogue.
In my 20-odd years of experience, I've seen some crazy shit out there. Some things I wouldn't want to recount. Some things I can't even explain.
Another thing to note about this scene is that the lighting is nicely reserved, the set doesn't feel overly clean, it's a good balance of light and dark, it doesn't seem fake. There's a lot of fog and noise in the frame, helping it seem like a real place rather than just a set. Film class 101, I did half a course and quit. And lastly, I wouldn't be bringing this up in a regular review, but the dialogue editing in this scene is solid. By this I mean the shot-to-shot cuts between characters during the conversation. They're well timed and the scene flows organically.
I know we're all upset about what happened to little Tommy Klein. That kind of shit don't happen around here. Not in our town.
Until it does.
Again, it's a minute thing, but it's a small detail that a lot of low-budget movie makers may look over or struggle to get right. I don't want to sound condescending here, I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, don't worry. Unfortunately, at the end of the scene, the music ramps up and ruins the emotions that were already being conveyed without it. It just started to blast over the dialogue, it was loud as fuck, you could barely hear them.
I need you to listen to me. This right here is all a fairy tale. Rookie, you're chasing ghosts.
It overall just took away from the scene's climax. I guess the font's not brilliant. Oh, who fucking cares? Who am I? We get introduced to the main character. Attractive, yet timid, blonde teen. The scene's almost identical in tone to the introduction to Jamie Lee Curtis's character in Halloween. Again, it's all self-aware. The director duo's love for Halloween is indisputable. The music is also very similar to the original John Carpenter score. Only here it's much more light and upbeat. It is cheesy.
What? You know what? It's just a day down like any other.
But since you know it's pastiching late 70s/early 80s horror, that helps make it work.
I don't. I think you're wacko. Now you're seeing men behind bushes.
Timid blonde's actress is probably the strongest performer in the film, perhaps on par with the sheriff.
Zodiac.
As long as your lead is good, your film can have much sturdier legs to stand on. They carry the weight of the lesser performers, so clearly that casting was the most paramount and they got one of the better actresses for the role. Timid blonde's friend is alright too, only the actress is a little too old to be playing a high schooler. You always suspend your disbelief with these high school movies, like according to Euphoria, this is what I should have looked like in high school, but there's only so far you can go with it.
What's Daddy gonna do? Sue me?
It's much easier to cast adults, so I understand why it's done, but compared to the rest of the cast, Timid Blonde's BFF is noticeably older. Why are the high schoolers, the teachers and the police officers the same age? We see the high school, the real life one that the directors grew up in. It's also the last day of school, so you have all of that coming of age. What are you gonna do next kind of dialogue.
So, when do you take your ticket out of here?
You'd never have guessed it, but there's actually a love interest in this movie. Please welcome Shy Hunk. Yeah, we're doing that thing where we don't refer to the characters by their real names, but instead with silly, goofy nicknames. I'm the first film reviewer to do that. Shy Hunk and his friend Outspoken Hunk, I think, were having a race to the door. They're both training athletes at the school. It is a little juvenile for them, but that's coming from a guy who was playing Manhunt in the park at age 16.
Go! What the hell are you doing?
In comes fascist coach that could only exist in America to tell the boys off for illegal running. The coach cocks up his line here.
Sorry. No, don't coach me.
How stupid are you?
It's quite a long take, so I assume they didn't have the time to do another one. There's a fair bit of extended takes in this film, so props to them for that as well. Out of respect, I'm going to leave one of my cock-ups in this video for all of you to see and laugh at. Obviously, the performances aren't going to be quite up to snuff with the Fuck. We know that these two characters like each other because they quietly smile at each other. As cliche romantic smiles go, this one isn't bad. It's believable, not original but believable enough. Again, lead actress is selling it. Remember, I'm being nice. Fascist coach that could only exist in America gets his epic Me Too moment.
Thanks, Mr. Rousseau.
Anytime.
Quick, quick, quick! Come and have a look!
Doesn't need to be in here, but 80s horror movies are full of weird shit like that. Wow, he's really passionate about that. He needs to say motherfucker to himself, he's that excited.
Give me the fucking keys, you fucking cocksucker!
More characters slash victims are introduced. Boyfriend and girlfriend. Very, very strong boy. He's even more athletic than the two runners. Oh my god. A big positive of Last of the Grads is its sense of setup and payoff. It has a better sense of incorporation and reincorporation than the vast majority of modern horrors or just blockbusters in general. The context in which very strong 17-year-old is introduced is set up for what comes later.
You can't keep sneaking in here!
We also get this school announcement, which I've only just noticed from watching it a second time through.
By the way, if any of you have seen a ring of janitor keys, please return them to me at the front desk. Thank you.
Also set up for future events.
Now's not the time for fear. That comes later.
We get our first line delivery that makes us feel like we're watching a Neil Breen movie from this old teacher.
I love what you've done with this year's senior bash. It's gonna be a smash.
It's gonna be a smash. Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but the filmmakers have succeeded at shooting the high school in a way that isn't completely bland or generic. Boyfriend doesn't look very comfortable here. It's like he can't put all his weight on girlfriend or they'll fall off the bench, so he's subtly hanging onto the table for dear life. And we've got ourselves another weak performance.
You love me anyway.
I'm so clever for criticising small-time jobbing actors. There's this cringy line that's made even more cringier by the boyfriend's wooden delivery.
I guess it's not what you wear that matters so much, it's about how you wear it.
Or how you take it off.
Then we get some more news about the coast-to-coast killer, and we see that these high schoolers are fully up to date with all the law.
The message says, may you make many more butts uncomfortable. The message says, call me Mutt.
Hang on, Mutt? That's the same name as the guy from the prologue.
Can you believe this freak?
No, I can't. It gives me the creeps.
Oh, baby, I'll protect you.
Well, I'm sold on that promise, sheerly from the conviction in his tone. Oh, baby, I protect you. Maybe this guy has got something up his sleeve, because he does sound like John Rambo. Some more really nice lighting. Atmospheric, but not fake looking. Why is she smiling at him again? I forgot. We now get a scene with the goofy, semi-affable teacher played by Andrew Wagenheim.
Leroy! I want you to name one thing you learned in my class this whole year. One thing. One. Go ahead.
For someone with no prior acting experience, Andrew actually does very well with the material he's given.
I'm cool. I'm Mr. Seitz. We're cool. You and me, we're buddies. We're friends. Right? Yeah.
Like Charlie, he was well cast as the goofy teacher who tries to be friends with the students. He isn't great.
That's one answer, I guess.
Maybe I'd be judging him differently if he was just another jobbing actor, but he leaves a bigger impression than a lot of the other cast members, so well done, Andrew. Also introduced in this scene is pathetic loser incel archetype. Another thing that this film has going for it is its continuity between cuts. It's just as smooth as your average piece of entertainment, and this style of editing is of course a visual nod to every single film made.
You fucking bitch!
We get a solid long take in this scene where shy and outspoken hunk are talking about timid blonde. It's an engaging way of presenting a fairly ordinary movie conversation that goes from them walking across the field to them readying up for a race. It's a very basic story, but just the interesting ways that the scenes are shot in elevates the storytelling. Everything feels a lot less generic. It does soften the cliches as it's more immersive and unique looking. No mistaking it's made by people with an actual passion for film rather than just a bunch of arseholes trying to make a product. Yet another high school horror cliche enters the arena. Blue Hoodie Bully.
Good name. Jesus, man.
You've been working out, haven't you?
Do bullies like this even still exist in the modern landscape? They're just too goofy to take seriously.
High tension wire.
I'm glad that there's ominous music to make it clear that he's being mean.
Hey, Stu! Jesus, man. You've been working out, haven't you?
I just thought they were close friends.
Hey, Stu!
Hey, Bozo, you got a brain in there?
I told you, I'm not just crazy, look at this shot, it's lovely. No please, not another high school horror cliche.
Goodbye!
Andrew Ryan scares the stoner off, but confiscates the joint for himself.
It was said that you would destroy this, not join them!
And then we get our first kill since the prologue. So long, Andy. With the commencing of the slashing, we see our first detailed practical gore effects, and they absolutely deliver. It looks awesome, and it gets you excited for the coming carnage. You can say you can tell it's a bunch of makeup, but regardless, the mere design of it is so much more gruesome than anything you could do with a CGI blood effect. Cut to a romantic scene for the ladies. If this doesn't make my day absolutely wet, I'm gonna sue the filmmakers. Timid blonde and shy hunk walk home together. It does add a lot to the movie that this was shot in Colin and Jay's hometown, because it makes the suburban backdrop feel much more authentic and homely. This location in particular with the lake is a distinctive feature that you can imagine was a place where Colin and Jay would walk through frequently in their formative years. And the environmental sound design is brilliant again here. Also, the fact that it isn't perfectly sunny and it's actually quite overcast in the background helps. The only thing I could do without is the music.
Yeah. Yeah, it is different. Last day of school and all.
Yeah.
Again, it takes away from all the other ingredients that make this scene feel natural. It would work so much better just on its own.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Oh no, I'm fine. You're this way too?
Yeah.
Back to the slightly deeper voice for the plot summary. They stop on a bridge as Timid Blonde tells us about how she leaves a penny at the same spot on the bridge every day and comes back the next day to find that someone has taken it. You can tell I'm reading off a script here.
Every day, I leave a penny, heads up, right here. And the next day, it's gone.
She then walks off and we find out that he's been the one who takes the pennies. Deep voice plot summary guy is not happy about this one bit. That was supposed to go to some homeless man, you little shit. Yoink! Being ultra serious though, this is a good visual way of telling us that he's been crushing on her for a long time. Or stalking her on her way home from school for a long time. You pick. Let me know which one you picked in the comments. Actually, you know what? Fuck the comments. Send me a Snapchat of your favourite movie booby. We get some more coming of age dialogue between the two as they discuss what they're going to do after high school.
So what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, the softly spoken plot summary guy's gone now. I've replaced him. I think he was a bit of a pervert anyway. Colin and Jay actually cited American Graffiti as another key influence on the script.
We were inspired by a lot of different movies when we were getting ready to start writing and even during the process. Two in particular, the way we pitched it and what we always kept in mind was American Graffiti meets Halloween. Get that last day kind of vibe throughout the whole movie. Kind of in a horror world.
When watching Grads the first time through, it was refreshing that the film had a slow pace. It wasn't in a rush to get to the gory kills. It spent a lot of time on developing the characters before the slaughter, which is something that's been missing in a lot of horror movies for years now. The film is an hour and 57 minutes long, and the main character doesn't even become aware that there's a killer on the loose until the hour and 15 minute mark. So it made sense when I learned that they were also taking notes from American Graffiti. Grads gives us some time to get to know the characters, so it's not just a shallow slasher film, but also has a coming of age aspect to it.
Are you going to the lock-in tonight?
So there's a lock-in happening at the school at night, which I guess is some sort of weird school sleepover thing. It serves the same narrative function as a prom night. You dress up nice, dance with your crush. Shy Hunk asks if Timid Blonde is going to the lock-in tonight, and she says, IDK, probs nah.
I don't think so. Whoa. What in the
That's 20 years ago.
You know, loud parties aren't really my thing.
Which is funny because in a surprising turn of events, she actually ends up going. What the fuck? After that beautiful walk home between two soon-to-be lovers, T-Blonde has a little blushing episode, and things are happy and cool. Then we hear another news report about the Coast to Coast Killer's latest victim, which interrupts our main character's joy.
The name on everyone's mind, the Coast to Coast Killer, may be connected to a mysterious death in the Central Florida area.
I'm overanalyzing here, but I like how her happy, cheesy love story is cut short by the news reading about the slasher. Her smile slowly dwindles as she hears of the latest murder. It reflects how the life and prospects of her and her friends are cut short by this bloodthirsty lunatic. Soon the coming-of-age story will abruptly end, and the slasher movie will commence. Like I said, timid blonde does end up going to the lock-in, despite telling the shy hunk that she wasn't, so we've got a pathological liar for a main character. I'm gonna have to deduct some points for that. We meet her dad, who's another one of the stronger performers in the film.
How was your day? Oh my God, your last day of high school. Can you believe it?
It was good.
Oh, good.
We get a nice dinner scene that could have come across as tacky, but it feels sincere. Good acting again. There's this unnecessary line about the mum.
You know, I took your mom to this dance in 1977.
The dad learning to cook and solemnly looking at this picture was a sufficient amount of clues already. They didn't need to directly address it with dialogue.
Took your mom to this dance in 1977.
1776 will commence again!
They arrive at the school to find Officer Penguinzo on guard duty. We get another comic relief scene of Charlie being his usual dry self.
They got you on this, huh?
Yeah, man. I was investigating Sasquatch sightings per usual, and they pulled me up. Do a little chaperoning at the school function.
Blonde meets a 35-year-old acquaintance outside who gifts her with one half of a broken heart friendship necklace, which is of course a reference to Twin Peaks.
Shut the fuck up!
The slightly odd teacher, who looks a little bit like Billy Bob Thornton, is supervising the lock-in.
Because some roads you shouldn't go down. Because maps used to say there'd be dragons here. Now they don't.
And here's this film's answer to a common modern horror narrative hindrance.
Now, some people are having trouble with this next part. We've decided to hold on to your cellular devices.
It's a little odd, but some schools do have weird rules like this. I just think we should be giving the movie props for addressing the problem head on and getting it out of the way.
We appreciate it. And don't worry, you'll get this back first thing in the morning.
They go inside. Stoner Kid comes along and freaks them out with a lighter, but they tell him to get lost. And then they discover that someone spiked a punch with liquor, which is of course a reference to How many times must I tell you not to do that? Meanwhile, Blue Hoodie Bully from before and two of his underlings have arrived in Halloween masks to break into the school and pull the fire alarm as an epic prank.
Pull the fire alarm and some shit.
Now that I like.
This horror film's busting out the heavy shit. This happens a lot in horror movies when students who claim not to give a shit about high school go out of their way to involve themselves with whatever's going on. Like, in reality, people who really don't give a shit would probably be off smoking weed in a park or something. After successfully picking the lock of the back door, Blue Hoodie Bully's two cronies go and have a toilet break in a nearby wood, and the slasher gets a double kill. It's an obvious squib, but it's cool and above all else quite funny. It's also worth pointing out that the reason the two lads were spaced out and separated was because this guy didn't want his mate pissing too close to him.
Don't stand next to me. Yo, get out of here.
Yeah, forgot your camera's shy.
It's small, but it was staging the kill. Just some more much appreciated setup. Officer Penguinzo monologues to himself about the meaning of life, but unfortunately the overly loud score ramps up and ruins the scene, making his lines sound mumbly.
Cry when it rains. Cry when it doesn't rain. And cry when you're dreaming.
As for the monologue itself, it's a little too familiar to Charlie White's YouTube persona.
What's worth anything in this corporeal dimension we're forced to inhabit?
Charlie is unfortunately the next to snuff it. His death is probably the most squeamish of the whole film. It is genuinely quite blood-curdling. It's the combo of the Achilles slicing and the nail ripping that does it, and Charlie's yelps of pain are very convincing. And you feel really bad for this innocent, affable cop who's in this sheer agony that you wouldn't put your worst enemy through. Officer Penguinzo's finished off with a heavy stomping, which looked a little too stupid for me. It was a stretch too far in terms of realism / entertainment, just too blatantly fake looking. Oh, never mind, I did a bit of research and I'm wrong about this. Turns out actor Charlie White was actually killed on screen. It's a real head stomping, he actually died.
And I bet you're wondering how this was even achieved because it looks so real. Well, it's not CGI, it's not even practical effects. I just died. They just fucking straight up curb stomped me and I died. but luckily they had an unseen necromancer to bring me back, so I was able to continue to exist.
I see they had a necromancer on set. Oh, I should have done my research. So this is a bad take on my part. Thumbs down on this video. It might be obvious to you by now that the kills are the movie's biggest strengths. Jay and Colin actually wrote the whole script based around the architecture of the high school. They always planned to film there before they even got permission. Their familiarity with the location made it easier for them to properly stage each kill. They had a detailed knowledge of the layout so they could more clearly envision creative deaths that were unique to each location. There's that fence by the forest. The killer could sneak out from the trees and strap someone to the fence and axe him. This is where the gym is. We could have someone be on a treadmill and have a funny death involving that. There'll be photocopiers dotted around all the classrooms. Let's incorporate one of those into the kill. They would have probably sounded a bit more enthusiastic than that, but you get the point. I'd say most of the passion was geared towards the killings, and I mean that in the best way possible. Again, Last of the Grad's central aim is to be a love letter to 70s/80s slasher movies, and it's during these goofy, creative kills where it's achieving that aim the sharpest.
In choosing the slasher genre, we were well aware of the legacy these films hold for people. We did a lot of research and we determined the aspects that we absolutely needed to get right for our movie.
And then the kills, that's what we really wanted to get right, and that's why we went with practical effects.
They knew who their audience would be and had them in mind since the genesis of the movie's conception. They knew that the gore should be done fundamentally with practical effects. They're more convincing, more visceral, more gruesome. It's the more hands-on approach that's needed if you want your kills to stand out. The attention to detail doesn't end there. I think they had a firm awareness of other shortcomings of poor B-movie horrors. Plot holes for one. Grads has a very tight script. They at least address the cell phone issue and deal with it in their own way. The reasons why characters are alone at their time of death is set up. This scene with the muscle dude at the beginning.
Hey! You can't keep sneaking in here!
And this school announcement about the keys.
By the way, if any of you have seen a ring of janitor keys, please return them to me at the front desk.
So later when the killer is unlocking all the doors, it makes sense. Each kill is different from the last, so the film doesn't feel repetitive for most of the runtime. A good portion of the characters have ample screen time, so their deaths actually have some semblance of weight or emotional impact. The pacing between kills itself, it's a slow burn slasher flick, which is refreshing. It's not just a sloppy, impatient bloodbath. Again, you have the American Graffiti angle, so you don't just have these boring, one-dimensional characters. I'm not saying they're excellent or particularly original, but I'd say that the directors have a clear care for these people they're writing about. Again, utterly absent in soulless, formulaic modern horrors.
We're talking good kills, good characters, and good setting. And we got that with the school, with the setting. We've got great actors, and we think we wrote good characters for them to play. And they elevated it, and so good characters.
So Blue Hoodie Bully in his Donnie Darko mask is still waiting for his friends to come back from having a piss when a drunk girl comes out and they start smooching and run off, with a clear yet subtle visual emphasis of the mask being left behind. And then Old Shift X came in and took over the review. They go off to have sexy time, but she moans his name wrong and he goes flaccid real quick. Like a pop balloon. He carries drunk girl back to the school grounds and leaves her on a bench. How do you make the word bench sound funny? This whole sequence makes Bully more of a sympathetic character. He's a lonely outcast in his own way. So Bully goes for a smoke at the top of these stairs when the killer arrives donning the Donnie Darko mask. And because of the way things have been set up, he initially just assumes that it's one of his friends goofing around.
Hey, jerk off!
He soon realises that something's up. I think it was the knife that gave it away. He jumps off the top of the stairs to escape and he breaks a leg. And we get another distinct death. Back inside, Shy Hunk finally asks Timid Blonde for a dance. Now back outside again, drunk girl is approached by the killer, and again, because of the setup, she just thinks it's Blue Hoodie Bully. Donnie Dicko gives her a nasty paper cut which leads into a chase scene. The camera focuses in on their feet, demonstrating the disadvantage she has in her high heels. Just more examples of simple yet effective cinematography that makes the things on screen more captivating. Drunk girl is locked out and choked out. Bye. The kills get a bit more frequent from this point onwards. We get an excellent photocopier death with the couple, pathetic sick incel loser boy gets waterboarded in the shower. Killer barely even had to use his knife. What a little bitch. One by one, all of the high school archetypes get picked off, all in keeping with the slasher pastiche. Now, even though this is how these vein of movies always unfold, I did want there to be some type of subversion of the genre tropes. Now, this is the part of the review where I'm going to be a bit more critical. I have to be honest, it was around this point where I realised it was just going to have every character die, saving the timid blonde, where I lost interest in the movie. Halloween was a great film, but you can't just copy the exact same structure, because we've seen the whole one by one everyone gets killed thing play out so many times now. It's a low budget movie, but you still had the opportunity to do something a little more inventive with the premise. Love letter movies can't just solely exist on the greatness of the films they're harkening back to. They have to have a substance of their own. I know it's the shtick of the movie, but it was underwhelming to see all of these nicely developed characters just lead to nowhere. Remember in The Cabin in the Woods when the stoner survives and saves the day? This film could have done something like that. It doesn't always have to be the innocent virgin girl who's the last one standing. Anyway, back to the plot. This bit's a bit shit.
Oh boy, Donna, what is it?
Oh boy, Donna, what is it? When Shy Hunk gets attacked by Donnie Dicko, his epic athletic skills save him. Again, that was set up. The escape is earned and satisfying. You could even contrast it to the earlier scene with the drunk girl. He dies in the next scene anyway. It's really retarded. He stops to kiss timid blonde instead of dragging her ass inside. You know exactly what's coming. We know it. You know it. Move! Move! Move!
For heaven's
But do you not?
The kill itself is awesome. Just getting his head slowly sawed off as she stands there getting soaked in blood. Time to point out the reference like the piece of shit I am. Carrie, 76. Timid blonde has a game of run and hide with Donnie Dicko across the different areas of the school.
I know you're in there. I can see your feet!
Again, I have to say, since I knew the exact direction this film was headed in, I was far less invested in the story by this point. The love letter novelty had started to wear off. Donnie Dicko winds up catching her, stabbing her in the chest but not mortally wounding her. He also carves the burning symbol into her palm. More chase, more capture, more near-death encounters, more escapes, more hiding. Dicko gets bored and goes to kill someone more fun. He does the Hercules guy in with the really awesome treadmill kill. Of all the victims, Very Hench Guy is probably the least developed character. The most we see of him is in this locker room scene.
Shouldn't let punks like that fuck with you.
His acting's quite shitty. He's zero charisma.
I thought Stuart was the freak.
Watch it, Johnny.
It's just a joke.
Better be.
Watch it, Johnny. It's a joke. Better be. Come to think of it, the coach actor's not very good either.
Don't fucking get smart with me.
He seems a little insecure and just shouts every line at the same pitch.
What the hell are you doing? Time and place, huh? Hey, can't keep sneaking in here. All right, you mama's boys. Where's Ben? All you guys, stop screwing around and get out there, all right?
Anyway, moving forward, timid blonde smashes window so she can get to a friend who's now looking for her. I've got to be real, that dive just looks so retarded. Despite the fact that they couldn't show us the actual jump through the window frame, the actress's fall itself is just plain unconvincing. Her friend finds her and they don't get the fuck out of Dodge immediately, they just stand there. Also, there appears to be some cloth or something stuck at the top of the lens. I don't know what that is, maybe there's something important. Dicko comes, takes BF's hand off. They run away. They reach Officer Penguinzo's car and timid blonde's 50-year-old acquaintance bleeds out. All of the main character's friends are doided and she's all on her own. She confronts the killer and has a massive go at him for killing all her friends.
She was family to me and you killed her like it was nothing!
Not the actress's best moment. Again, I'm being more critical because the charm has started to dwindle. More running away. All of the extras see Stoner Kid get killed and scurry off, and then we see the most malevolent kill yet. An off-screen kill.
Oh my.
Just absolutely petrified.
Oh my.
Killer slaughters a bunch of girls and these pussies do fuck all about it. It's just a fucking knife. Can not one person defeat this douchebag? It all culminates with a one-on-one in the sports hall between timid blonde and Donnie Dicko. Wow, just see that chasing. I'm just gonna pass this off as him toying with her. Dicko gets his knife stuck in the table and she breaks the bowl of punch over his head and he's knocked out for a bit. She then enters the astral plane and sees all of her dead friends. It then flashes all the way back to Henry and Mutt's story from the prologue, where we learn that Henry eventually grew sick of Mutt and killed him. All those years ago, the burning was passed down from Mutt to Henry. Back in the present, Ghost of Stoner Boy reminds Blonde that the punch was spiked with alcohol and he's got a lighter on his body. Donnie Dicko / Henry takes his mask off and gives her one last game of Tig for old time's sake. But then in this next scene, his mask is on again. Ding! No, don't worry boys and girls, we don't do that pussy shit here with the whole, nitpicks, little details, ding ding ding. On this channel, we review films like Men. Timid Blonde lures the killer in by feigning a leg injury. And I do want to apologise to people out there who are actually suffering with real leg injuries, not just fake ones like this fucking bitch here. Donnie Dicko / Henry finally speaks, and it's really funny.
Yes! Yes!
He reiterates the "I've got the burning" motto from the start.
Don't just see me, Mutt. I've got the burning in me now!
To which Timid Blonde responds with,
You're burning now, bastard!
and like Mutt and Henry did to their parents at the start, T-Blonde lights Henry on fire. I suppose there was enough alcohol in that punch bowl for him to light up to the extent that he did. Oh no, I'm doing it again. Oh, it's the fucking nitpick guy twat. Nah, just forget all that. I'd just like to give them props for the setup once again. It was all nicely pre-established. So Donnie Dicko perishes as Timid Blonde gazes at the flames. Cut to black. We get a scene with the rookie and the sheriff grieving over Officer Penguinzo.
I'm the one that has to call his family and tell him he's not coming home.
The sheriff actor is far less convincing in this scene than he was at the start. We also get another news report going over the night of the murder.
The man responsible has been confirmed to be the individual known as the Coast to Coast Killer, reopening dozens of cold cases across the country.
Another point I have here is this reporter sucks absolute ass.
When reached for comment, her father had this to say.
Mr. Bradley, what is your reaction to the incident?
It feels like I'm watching Drama Alert or like Watch Mojo News or some shit. There's this harsh shadow of his glasses right in his eyes. Look, he just freezes.
Had this to say.
Mr. Bradley, what is your reaction to the incident that occurred last...
Look at his face. It looks like he's getting his passport photo taken.
Our town is in mourning.
Oh, I just see that deep contemplation. Oh, that just sincerity and that pain he shares with this man, this father. Man, I'm really upset for this headshot guy.
What a terrible tragedy.
What a terrible tragedy. You've just ruined this entire fucking film, mate. Cut to 7 months later. Another very good shot here. Very professional looking. Emma's off to college. Did I mention before that her name is Emma? She drives off to new horizons as she glances at her friendship necklace that a 65-year-old acquaintance gifted her. Things seem hopeful until she cuts her hand on the broken heart and we're reminded that she's marked with the terrifying symbol of the burning.
They've said the Age of Legends had ended.
Oh shit, it's the narration. I forgot all about that guy. Well, actually, all jokes aside though, it is quite poor how it only shows up at the very beginning and very end. They should have been more consistent with its usage or not had it in the film at all.
But that's the thing about legends, isn't it?
The narration says that legends last forever or they never really die or something.
They never truly die.
The burning lives on. Timid Blonde has the mark. She has inherited the burning. Or maybe the burning was within her all along. Goodness knows what further evil she'll wreak upon the world with that burning inside her. That's the end. If I was judging this as a professional piece, the mere homaging of Halloween wouldn't be enough. It didn't add anything to the format or do anything new with it. It was just a scrutinizingly faithful pseudo-remake. It's not a great movie. I'm willing to bet that there are better examples of low-budget love letter horror movies that are more original and inventive. All of the character development still wasn't enough to make me really care about these people. They are still generic cliches. There's unfortunately an overall genericness to the entire film. The people behind it obviously have a love for horror movies and they wanted to make their own slasher movie, but it's just not incredibly unique when comparing it to the grand scope of B-movie horrors. I don't think I'll ever revisit this film. I obviously wouldn't have known about it or had any interest in it if not for Charlie White's involvement. I do not think it's a passionless piece. There's good intentions behind the whole thing, and I really don't want to be too hard on it because it's obviously working with very little. That's why I've waited for the end of the video to be be a bit more critical. I want to make myself clear though, I still really want people to watch this. It's way more deserving of your attention than so much of what's being released right now. Its sense of setup and payoff and incorporation and reincorporation is stronger than the vast majority of modern horrors. The kills are gruesome, creative and funny, and maybe that's enough. I'm just happy that these people got their film made, and it is important to support the smaller artists every so often, and that's another reason I wanted to make this review. It's a wholesome endeavour and you should still check it out because you may very well get more out of it than I did. I'll put the link to where you can purchase Last of the Grads in the description. Please check them out and support them. Even if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can still buy it as a way of just donating. You've probably paid more for worse. This is Bacho, and it's been a pleasure reviewing this film with you.